So Senators Hirono and Duckworth have reintroduced the Right to Contraception Act to the Senate floor to codify our right to contraceptive access and protect reproductive health care access for millions of Americans. Republicans, well, guess what they did? With the Supreme Court's disastrous decision last year to place millions of Americans' access to abortion in the hands of anti-choice state legislatures. They patted themselves on the back. Yippee! Woohoo! Good job, us! And then in spring of this year, we witnessed anti-choice extremists launch a fresh new attack on medication abortion. That's why we need political leaders who will codify our right to reproductive health care, and Senators Mazie Hirono and Tammy Duckworth have proven that they can be up to the task. In the last month, they reintroduced the Right to Contraception Act to the Senate floor, a landmark piece of legislation that, if enacted, will codify our right to contraceptive access. But as usual, in a predictable moth-to-fire level, the religious right are going to intentionally stand in the way when autonomy is on the line. Endorsed women are rolling their sleeves up and fighting hard, as well as politically endorsed men, which is why we need pro-choice people in power, in political power. Also, you know it and I know it, the Supreme Court keeps undermining the wall of separation between church, religion, and government. Even before President Trump installed the Christian nationalist supermajority on the Supreme Court, things were bad. The justices were slowly and intentionally chipping away at church-state separation. Again, church-state separation is not a battle. The reality is, it is a war. Now they're attacking it more directly, portraying efforts to protect church-state separation as attacks on the religious freedom of Christians. In typical religious right-wing fashion, we knew they would do that. We knew the Supreme Court's increasing attacks on our constitutional rights, and we atheists, humanists, and secularists are preparing for it. We atheists, humanists, and secularists, nationwide and eventually globally, need to keep butting heads with religious nationalist officials in their communities at all levels, in every country, everywhere. Because these religious extremists are not going to stop at the controversial and outright theocratic statements using their official social media accounts. When we push back, these thin-skinned cowards react by blocking us or deleting our comments, challenging their views. And we need to keep going after them. We need to keep challenging them. Defending our freedom of speech should be straightforward. We need to do that at every level of every government, everywhere, all over the world. But the lower courts have made it all but impossible to know whether our speech online is protected by the First Amendment method without going through lengthy litigation. This uncertainty chills speech rather than protects it. As everyone likely uses social media, it's unfair to us, all of us. We should be able to count on having the opportunity to engage our elected officials everywhere, all over the world, in the modern-day public square. While the justices have a terrible track record on church-state separation, they seem inclined to protect the freedom of speech. And despite that, they're still being urged to protect Americans' free speech rights to challenge government officials on social media. even though they are thin-skinned pieces of shit. We need to keep defending the rights of us atheists and humanists and secularists, and not just all Americans, all citizens of all countries. We need to speak out against Christian nationalists and nationalists of any religion, and their hateful attacks on freedom of and from religion, reproductive rights, LGBTQ equality, etc., etc. And so what if those would-be theocrats don't like it? We have to keep fighting to protect the rights of us atheists, humanists, and secularists as far as free speech, rights on social media and off social media, and in the public and private square. We have to keep doing that. Now, a police sheriff called Sheriff Watson bragged to local press that he was going to use his position to preach Christianity after receiving criticism on his office's Facebook page. He and his employees began blocking critics and deleting negative comments. And they were sued, and they settled. He proudly bragged about blocking his atheist constituents on his official Facebook and Twitter accounts, discriminating against them and violating their free speech. Once again, he was sued, and the state of Arkansas settled. Again, another example of the religious right being the opposite. They're not really the victims or the oppressed or the persecuted. They're really the oppressor, the victimizer, and the persecutor. We are holding Christian nationalists accountable, and we also need to hold Jewish nationalists accountable and Islamic nationalists accountable as well. No one is above the law, including not thin-skinned theocrats who can't take criticism. And we need to demand that the Supreme Court protect Americans' free speech rights to challenge government officials at all levels, everywhere. At this critical moment, we atheists, humanists, and secularists have to take action. We have to ensure our rights. We have to stop the religious nationalists. It doesn't matter what religion they are.